Hello students, welcome to lesson 10-2. This is going to be a 2-day lesson. Today we're just talking about what an arc is and different types of arcs and how you find their measurement. So all an arc is part of a circle. So this part of the circle is an arc. This part of the circle is an arc. This part of the circle is an arc. So I'm going to be, for a moment, referring to this part of the circle that I'm scribbling on, from point A to point B. So that's an arc. And arcs have measurements and arcs have length. Tomorrow, or in the next video, we'll talk about length. Today we're talking about the measure of an arc. So the way it's defined, the measure of an arc, is if you draw a radius to each end of an arc, you get an angle. That angle is called a central angle because the vertex of the angle is at the center of the circle. So it's called a central angle. And whatever that angle measures, in this case, let's say it's a 100-degree angle, that's what that arc measures, 100 degrees. So, and it works the other way around. If we know that this arc measures 100 degrees, then we know the angle at the center of the circle measures 100 degrees. So that's a quick introduction. Now, there are 3 different types of arcs. There is a minor arc, there is a semicircle, which is actually one word, there shouldn't be a big space there, semicircle, and a major arc. So I'll explain each and how you name them, and then we'll try 2 problems together. A minor arc is an arc that measures less than 180 degrees. So less than halfway around a circle. For instance, if I was told that this central angle measures 61 degrees, I would know that this arc is a minor arc. Because remember, the angle at the center of the circle tells me what the arc measures. Now, when you name a minor arc, it can be named with either 2 or 3 points. 2 or 3 points. So if this is point A, and this is point B, and this is point C, and I want to refer to this part of the circle, there would be 4 ways to do it. The 2-letter name means you begin and end with the endpoints. So I could call this arc AC, I could call it arc CA, this is the symbol for arc, a little arc over the 2 points, or the 3-letter name, you just follow them in order, so either arc ABC or arc CBA. And that might not seem important, but that's actually a big part of the purpose of this video, is just to get familiar with naming arcs so you can find them and solve problems, like the ones we'll be doing in a minute. The next kind of arc is a semicircle. Semicircle, of course, semi means half, so semicircle means half of a circle. So that's going to be an arc that measures 180 degrees. Suppose I wanted to refer to this half of the circle. If this is point Q, and this is point R, and this is point S, and I wanted to say something about this half of the circle, it has to be named with 3 letters. I can't just say 2 letters. If I say arc QS, you wouldn't know if I meant this half of the circle or that half. As soon as I write arc QRS, and you follow those letters around the circle in order, you know which half of the circle I'm talking about. So the only other name for this semicircle would be arc, why is that S over there? SRQ. So either arc QRS or arc SRQ. So going back to minor arcs, when an arc is named with 2 letters, it always means the shorter way around the circle between those 2 points. So arc AC is not going to be referring to this part of the circle. It's a 2-letter name is always referring to a minor arc. A 3-letter name could be referring to any kind of arc. And the way you know what kind of arc it is by following the letters in the order that they're listed. So the last kind of arc is a major arc. A major arc measures more than 180, but less than 360. Suppose I told you that this angle was a 50-degree angle. And I have point L and point J and point M. And if I say arc LJM, if we follow the letters around the circle in that order, that would force me to go in this direction, starting at L, hit the J, stop at the M. So that's referring to this part of the circle. And that's a major arc because I know that the arc from L to M measures 50 degrees, so the rest of this arc is going to measure 310 degrees, 360 minus 50. The only other name for this arc would be arc MJL. MJL. And final bit of notation is, here I could say the measure of angle G is 50 degrees. That little M that you're all familiar with means measure. The same notation is used for arcs. So I can write the measure of arc LJM is 310 degrees. Again, that's 360, not including that 50. So the measure of the arc is 310. So there you go. Minor arc, semicircle, major arc, less than 180, exactly 180, between 180 and 360. So we're going to try two problems together. I'm going to start the first one with you, and then I'm going to recommend you pause the video and see if you can do the rest here. So this problem is asking me, or it's telling me circle F is shown. That tells me F is the center of the circle. That's important. So that tells me that this is a central angle of 50 degrees. And it's asking me to find all these arc measurements. So for starters, what we should do is we should fill in these central angle measures. For instance, I'm sure you all know, vertical angles are always congruent. So if that's 50, that's 50 degrees. These two angles form a linear pair, right? These two angles are supplementary because they form that line together. So this would have to be 180 minus 50, 130. This angle needs to be a number that's going to add up to 180 along with these other two, because these three angles up here are forming a line together. So 50 plus something plus 90 is 180. That has to be a 40-degree angle. And if I know those, I can now write down what each of these arcs measure. Arc AD is going to measure 50 degrees. And arc DC is going to measure 40 degrees. And this is going to be 90 degrees. So I'm just matching them up with their central angles. And now your job is going to be to pause the video and see if you can figure out what each of these arcs measure, which is really assessing whether or not you can find these arcs correctly on the picture. If you get the right answers, then we know you're looking at the arcs correctly. So go ahead and hit pause. And let's see how you did. So the measure of arc AD, 50 degrees. The measure of arc DC, 40 degrees. Remember, two letters always means the shorter way around the circle. So arc CB is always going to mean this. It's not going to mean the major arc. Two letters is always a minor arc. Three letters, you have to follow them in order to see what kind of arc it is. Arc BE, 50 degrees, and arc EA, 130 degrees. All right, now let's see, arc CA. Two letters, so I know I'm looking to go the shorter way around the circle from C to A. That's going to be this one, 90 degrees, 40 plus 50. DB, 40 plus 90, 130. For BD, that's the same arc from B to D is 130. And arc BCD is also that very same arc. BCD is that same part of the circle. Arc BAD, BAD. So I got to follow the letters in that order. So that would force me to go from B through the A to the D. So that's 230. DAB, from the D to the A to the B. So that's 50 plus 130 plus 50. That sounds like 230 to me. That's the same arc. Arc ABC, let's see. So I'd have to go from the A through the B, stopping at C. So that's all of these added together to 70 degrees. Or maybe you More quickly, notice that's the whole circle except for this 90, 360 minus 90, 270. And this is the one that's a little more challenging. Can you find the right order to hit these 3 points going around the circle from C to A to D? And it seems at first impossible sometime. Wait, how do I get from here to there? All it is start at C, go all the way around to the A, stop at the D. So that last one is talking about this arc. C through the A to the D. So it's the whole thing minus that 40, 320 degrees. Hope you did well with that. Last example. So I'm going to let you get a good look at this one. You might want to draw this yourself on a piece of paper nearby. Hit the pause button. See if you can figure it out. The hint I'll give you in order to find this arc measure is first you got to figure out what x equals. Why don't you hit pause and try that. And we're back. So let's see, what do I know here? Well, I've got an arc measurement, so that tells me the central angle is going to be the same, 13x minus 3. I have an arc measurement here, so its central angle is going to be the same, 5x plus 5. So one way we could get x is by noticing these 3 angles form a line together, so they have to total 180. The other way to think about this, which is really the same thing, is to say, well, this central angle was given, so I know that its arc measures 8x minus 4. And then we could look at these 3 arcs and say, well, that's a semicircle. If that's a semicircle, because it says that this is a diameter, we got a chord passing right through the center of the circle. So I know these have to add up to 180. So either way, you should have had this equation, that the 3 arc measures add up to 180. You go through your algebra, solve for x. X comes out to be 7. You can pause that if you need to see that algebra. So if x is 7 and I want to know the measure of arc RQU, which is this arc from the R through the Q to the U, then let's see. Well, again, this is 180 degrees because that's a semicircle, so I just need to add this piece. So what's this piece? 5 times x plus 5, 5 times my x value of 7 plus 5, that's going to be a 40 degree arc here. So if that's 40 degrees, I've got 180 plus 40. The answer to the question has to be 220 degrees. Hope that helps you guys.